So I was born in Michigan. Um, I left Michigan when I was 5 and moved to Washington, and I left there when I was 10. It was a pretty rough childhood. I always didn't know what I was gonna amount to. You know, there was never any structure in my life. There was never a male figure in my life. There was never anything that was kind of guiding me in the right direction. The most relationship I had with my dad was, I talked to him once a week on the phone. So eventually, I kind of started hanging out with the hoodlums. They didn't have nothing going on, and they had plenty of time to hang out. So it started slow, just getting in with the wrong crowd, and slowly but surely, we just made a lot of bad decisions together. Started just smoking and drinking and drugging at a young age. I felt like in high school that I wasn't never going to college. Like there wasn't a chance I was going to college. So I kind of just wanted to try it all in high school and get it out of the way. So I did. We partied way too hard on the weekends, and then of course the trouble came. I started getting in trouble at a young age. So at this point I still was just wide open. I still didn't have any guidance. I didn't have anybody telling me I was doing anything wrong. So I just continued down that path until my late teen years when it kind of started catching up to me. So the first time I went to jail was 6 months, my longest stint, and I was looking at burglary to an occupied dwelling, which was like 15 years, and it scared me. It scared me a lot. But jail's really when I first really started thinking about God. My problem was when I left jail the first time. I made it 6 months. I ended up getting blessed and getting probation. I was gung-ho. I had signed up for a Christian halfway house, and I thought I had it figured out. Well, there was two problems. One problem was that I left jail with just a different drug addiction, and another problem was that I had all these ideas about God, but they were just all in my head. I never brought God into my heart at that point. So needless to say, when I got out, it didn't last long. I left the halfway house. I started bouncing back and forth, and finally what it came down to was I just got in way too deep. I burned every bridge I could, and I had nothing left. I had warrants out for my arrest, and this was the second jail sentence that I was looking at. I was violating probation that I had signed up for. At this point, I didn't have anywhere to live, and where I did live, I just took advantage of it and took it for granted, and so they didn't want me back. So I felt just that I had nothing. I had no family here at this point, but from my drug dealing, I had a gun, and that's all I had. I had a gun in a suitcase. At this point, like I said, I was coming off drugs. I was sick. My mind wasn't right. It was all over the place, and my only thought was, you don't have to go through this anymore. At one point, I just remember just going completely blank and silent, and I the gun I used to intimidate people with, I turned it on myself, and I pulled the trigger, and I shot myself in the chest. After the second time trying to commit suicide, I realized that there's something here. There's something going on that I don't know. After I got out of jail the second time, it's what brought me to Ocala. Still managed to not have to go to prison. And when I was in rehab, we were able to leave and go find a job. When you stay for 6 months, then you work for 6 months program. So I think I was working for a couple months, and I remember it was the only day at this landscaping job that I had that we were rained out, and me and my buddies were sitting at just a breakfast place, I think IHOP, something like that, and this guy just walked up to our table and started kind of talking about the Lord. And I was into it because at this point I was in my Bible, and I was trying to pray as much as I could. So when he started talking about God, I was interested. Come to find out, it was Brad Dinkins that just, nowadays I think about it and it's hilarious. I'm just another table that he's walked up to and try to preach the Lord about. But he followed it up with about this company that he just purchased, and he was interested if anybody at that table was a welder. He was looking for welders. So he ended up bringing me on at Fidelity, and he, when I still had, I think it was about a month left or so in rehab, and at the end of the thing, he said, we want you to come. We want you to come to Helping Hands. And at that point, I really seen, I think, the hearts of the people that he was showing me. I went to a couple Wednesday devotionals, and the difference was it was real to me at this point. It was real. It was authentic. The people were authentic. Just as much, love and care that these people showed. Not just me, but it was just like, it was everybody. I didn't find myself that special because I just seen all this love going around Helping Hands, but then I realized what they were trying to instill, and it was a foundation. It was a foundation unlike anything else that I experienced in these programs. The program that I had left prior wasn't a Christian-based program. You really had to bring Jesus to the program. And the halfway house before that, I wasn't serious. I wasn't, it was just another, finally, once I touched down, it was just another way to, try to beat the system. So, Helping Hands is really when things started getting real to me. It gave me the time, opportunity, and guidance to kind of continue to walk out the will of God. I can't even count the amount of answered prayers, the achievements in my life that I just continue to just glorify God about because of. When they say that God came and parted the sea, that's how it felt for me. I went from somebody who was nothing, who was a drug addict, who was suicidal, to somebody who really cares about people, who really enjoys life, and has a great group of people around him. God continues to instill in me to be a good father to my daughter. My daughter just turned 4 years old, and she's awesome. She's amazing. She's beautiful. She's like so cool. She's really fun. She's smart. Yeah, she's very smart. And she knows her daddy. She knows her daddy really, really well. God really instilled in my life to be a good father to her, and so she wouldn't have to go through some of the things that I thought, or some of the things that I was, because I didn't have a father around. So I really want to kind of break those chains in her life before they even start. Helping Hands has been supportive every step of the way with that. My job is crazy at times. It's crazy. It's very busy, but it's a highly responsible job. It gives me a lot of purpose. Helping Hands always gives me an outlet to be able to reach out or talk to somebody, or give somebody a hug. There's a lot of opportunity, and I see God moving in that program. He has for me in a lot of ways, and I've seen him move in a lot of ways for a lot of other people's lives there. So.